It's that time of the year again where people are going back to school or coming back from vacation and ready to go back to work. So I made this guide for people who are looking for an IEM for commuting, studying, work, or even movies. What we're looking for here are IEMs that are not too energetic, not too, forward in the vocals, not overly bassy and fatiguing. Basically a very good all-rounder that you can use that's pretty affordable and also very comfy as well. Starting under $25, if you're on a budget, then I highly recommend trying the Tangent Zero Ultimas or the Bunny DSP or 3.5 version. Either one works. If you need the USB-C for convenience, get the DSP version. If you don't, the 3.5 has a little bit more mid-bass and sounds a little bit warmer, but aside from that, not a huge difference. The main selling points on the Tangent IEM is that they are very smooth in the treble for the price, especially under $25. These are probably the smoothest that you can get. The Zero Ultima especially is very comfy because it is a bullet style. It doesn't wrap around your ears and it's a bit smaller, not as bulky as the bunnies. And another option is the Tongzu 1 or 2. Now this does look a bit fancier when it comes to the cable, the unboxing. It also comes with the Sankai tips, which help smoothen out the sound. And the 1 or 2s are also pretty smooth, non-fatiguing overall. Not as, I guess, detailed and extended in the treble as the Zero Ultimas or the Tangent Bunny. But if you're looking for a better cable and you like these Sankai tips, then you want to overall the value is still there, still very good, and both of these are solid recommendations under $25. Another option here, if you want something warmer that's better for lo-fi, hip hop, slower kind of rap stuff, then you have the QKZ HBB. This is a classic, warm, relaxing, not too fatiguing, and also pretty affordable at around $13 to $15 on sale. So another great option if you're looking for a warmer sound instead. Next, moving up to around $65, my pick here would be the Tangent for You and the Simga EW300 with the pink nozzles or the DSP version. Both of those are going to be very smooth if you want something warmer, something bassier, but still very technical and very detailed, especially for $60. One of the best value all-rounders you can get for the price. And the Tangent for You is just very versatile in the tuning switches. You can go from no bass to kind of a warmer sound, but all very smooth and just refined in the treble, especially at $60. This would be a smoother sound, whereas the EW300 slightly more bassy, slightly more resolving and slightly sharper in the imaging. But overall, both of these are very solid for the price. Next, at around $160, my pick here would be the Kiwi Ears Eroso, the Confined Quatio, if you want something that's warmer, balanced, all-rounded, but just more bassy in the overall sound, but still pretty smooth, non-fatiguing, and not overly shouty, overly forward in the vocals. And then if you want something cleaner, more vocal centric, you got the EPZ P50s on sale for $160, and then the Crinier Daybreaks, which are probably going to be on sale for around $150, $160 as well. Both of these follow a meta, clean, JM1 bass boost kind of sound. It's not going to be the most dynamic and energetic, lively listen, but for what we're looking for, which is a very clean, detailed sound, all-rounder that you could just put on in the background, these work very well, and you still get the technicalities without the vocals, the treble being too forward in your face that distracts you from working or study. You can also go for the Kiwi Ears Aether, which is basically a cheaper version and airier version of the Performer 5+2, less sharp and sizzly in the treble, just more airy instead, still neutral, bright leaning, laid back. It doesn't really get in the way of what you're doing. It's a good, clean, all-rounder set that you can look into as well. And some honorable mentions here would be the Truth Nova, the Simga Supermix 4, and the Giz Audio Chopin. Now, all three of these are going to be slightly more technical than the sets mentioned before, but the main drawback is that the energy in the vocals, the upper mids, even the treble is going to be sometimes a little bit sharper, a little bit more forward. It is still an option. It is very technical. It is, the value-wise, they're still up there, it's not outdated or anything, but it is going to be more forward in the vocals, which some people might not enjoy as much. And also it is less quote-unquote musical. It's a little bit more clinical, less warm, less full in the sound. Another honorable mention here would be the Full Explorer. If you listen at higher volumes, these are very bassy but relaxing, immersive. Now they can be a bit congested, a bit dark at mid to lower volumes, which is why I recommend you to crank them up a bit more, give it more scaling. It's gonna bring the vocals more forward while giving you the immersion factor, the bassiness, and enough air and treble as well. Next, moving up to under $250, I recommend the Theaudio Hype 2s on sale if you want something that's neutral, balanced, slightly bright leaning, but very smooth overall. These are not going to be the most fun kind of IEM, but for what we're looking for, which is an IEM that is still enjoyable, still technical enough that doesn't get in the way of the main task, the Hype 2 does that very well with its smooth, slightly bright leaning sound. Pretty good as a clean all-rounder pick. But if you're looking for something that's bassier, that's better for movies, but can still act as a good all-rounder when it comes to studying, working, whatever you're doing, I would recommend giving the Zigot Odysseys a shot. These are more sub-bass focused, but it gets the upper mids cut, it gets the treble dip, which refrains it from being too shouty, too forward in your face with the energy when it comes to the treble or like the vocal presence. And these are one of the best under $200 for a reason. And easy recommendation if you're looking for something that's a little bit bassier, but also scales better and just a little bit more engaging. Now, if you want something more laid back, more mid-centric, less bassy, less aggressive, dynamic, kind of in your face sound as the OGs, then the Zigot Odyssey 2s does that pretty well. It's basically a cleaner and more mid-centric version, more laid back version of the OGs with similar great bass texture, but better separation, and it still scales great. But at mid volume, I think it fits pretty well for what we're looking for. That is not distracting, but still pretty enjoyable. Then lastly, if you want a set that scales the best, that's also very smooth, balanced, clean, I would recommend giving Zigot Lush a try. These are very well balanced, they're smooth, they're kind of like a slightly warm, leaning, airy kind of sound, and they are non-fatiguing. They scale very well, no peakiness, no energy, no jarriness that jumps out at you. And if you're looking for something that scales good at high volume, but you still want it to not distract you from your main task, the Lush is a good pick. Now, moving up under $350, my pick here for an all-rounder would be the EPZ K9. These are a slight V-shaped version of Harman, pretty smooth overall when it comes to the upper mids and the treble, but you still get the dynamics from the low end. It nicely balances out the vocals, so the vocals are gonna pop out, the treble isn't gonna pop out. Still very good for movies and can also work well as an all-rounder. Another option here would be the Zigot Lunas, and going off of my unit, which is warm and airy, these are perfect at mid-volume if you need something that's relaxing, smooth, slightly warm, slightly airy, nostalgic kind of vibe. But once you're done with working or studying, you can crank these up, just listen to the music. Very immersive, they scale very well, but very smooth. Get the airiness and warmness, the fullness in the low end. Gives you this like nostalgic kind of like sunset feeling to the sound that's very enjoyable at high volumes as well as mid volume. Then moving up to around $600, my pick here would be the Mega 5 ESC7, the Oracle Mark 1s, and the Audiophile if you want something that's smooth, all-rounded, clean, but still very technical and good for the value as well. All three of these are gonna have VSTs, with the main difference being that the Mega 5-7 is gonna be a more all-rounder sound. You get a good amount of bass, you get a good amount of treble, the vocals are all well balanced. It doesn't do anything special, but works the best as an all-rounder. And as for the Oracle Mark 1s, these are gonna be more vocal centric. The artists pop out more, it's gonna be a little bit more forward when it comes to vocal playback, but still very smooth, clean, very sweet sounding vocals that doesn't get fatiguing, sharp, or anything like that. Still one of the best all-rounder vocal sets you can get under $1,000, and one of the benchmarks at $500. Then as for the Audiophile, these are probably the most technical and smoothest sounding out of the bunch. The airiness, the treble refinement is just the best on here. You get 2 extra ESTs versus the other ones for around the same price. Now the main difference is that the Volaire isn't going to be that good in the sub-bass texture, and the vocals aren't going to pop out as much as the Oracle Mark 1s. But if you want just something airy and the smoothest sound, the Volaire is the best pick here. And then lastly, if you don't mind a slight treble emphasis, I would recommend the Top Pro or the Nice Hack Rockies. Both of these are fantastic value. The Top Pros are probably the cheapest on here, and then the Rockies are also great with ESTs at $500. Both of these follow a slightly bright leaning treble presentation. The Top Pros more clear, more pop in the vocals, more forward in the overall presentation, whereas the Rockies are more laid back. They have more air, more airiness to the treble presentation. If you don't mind something with a little bit more energy, these two will still work great without distracting you too much at mid volume. Then lastly, if you want something more neutral, almost like a straight line, you can give the Tangzu Xuanwu Gate a try. These are very technical, detailed, airy, very good in the layering. It's just that it's not going to be as dynamic and engaging in the low end, but it is very tame in the upper mids and doesn't get in the way of the main focus and distract you. Then moving up to $1,000, I actually don't really recommend you guys buying a $1,000 IEM just to use for work and studying. Like, buy the IEM, use it for music, but also use it for work and studying, right? But at $1,000, my pick here as an all-rounder would be the Monarch Mark IVs. You get two tuning options here, a bassy, warmer, smooth version of the original, which is a more balanced but still smooth, highly technical, clean, well layered, detail kind of set. They are an all-rounder. They do all those very well, but it doesn't really specialize in any region per se. But since we're looking for something that's smooth and does everything very well and doesn't get in the way of whatever you're doing, the Monarch Mark IV is the example of that. And I wouldn't spend any more than $1,000 for studying work or even like movies, stuff like that. Now, another option here would be the Lecture Mystic 8 if you want something that's a little bit brighter, neutral, sparklier, airier, more specialized in the treble, more sparkly and more quote-unquote different than an all-rounder, which is the Monarch Mark IVs. These are also the best female vocals you can get under $1,000 and one of the best like under $2,000. So in terms of specialization, if you want something that's good for female vocals, something that's more treble emphasis, something sparkly, the Mystic 8 would be a solid option as well. Just don't buy it solely for like studying, working, and whatever. But yeah, aside from that, that's pretty much it. I hope you found this guide to be helpful. My personal recommendation is to just stick around like under $250 if you're solely looking for IEM that excels at studying, working, commuting, even movies, right? Those all under $250 will do the job. The ones that are past $250, those are more music first. For example, the Luna, the Mega 5, the Top Pros, the Mystic 8, those are all very good sets for listening to music that you can also use for work, studying, commuting, movies as well. But aside from that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see everyone in the next one.
Shout out to Dom Q, Roark's Cat, B. Urak, Discos Goddess, Walker Standard, Patrick, User, Contain Quava Juice Gains, All Really, Mr. Gorillas, Polly J, Giseng Young, Christopher Jackson, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, 777ZK, Wizard, OB, Triple Well Extended, Frickalicious, Ricardo's, Tapis Art, Chuckle Norris 420, Shrimp Back to Lay, FKSRG, Cousin Fat Fat, Julius Phillip, Dad Riddle, Bilha, Armor, Nico, Parham, Nicholas, Addy, Michael, LL here, Andy, Trackstar, Sergip, Torcog, Ryan, Shuri, Raphael, I'm J-Rack, Ori, June, Hakase, LVP Specialist, Emil, Sayaki, Sino Cloud, Sami, Afi Nadim, EGC, Raj, Samantha, Chimika, Nostov, Javier, CB952, Gelbog, AK131, James, Sanadan, Brian Carson, and Alejandro. Thank you guys so much for the support.